Hello everyone, good evening. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. I'm Saral Nashier with you today again with this new session. I hope you all know what are we going to do in this session. Anyways, it is written on the screen. But before we start, let me just know one thing. Am I clearly audible and visible to each one of you? Is there any problem that any one of you is facing? Just let me know once that whether I am clearly audible to you or not. So after that, we'll start with our today's session. Let's just get the problems out of the way. Hi, Jai Hind, Rupesh Kumar. Please confirm once is all okay. After that, we'll start with our session today. Okay. So what are we going to talk about in this session? As it is written on the screen too. How to start preparing for Quant of CAT 2022. So many of you who would have started preparing for CAT 2022, the initial few problems are that Quant is an area which we generally don't like, and we are not able to make a schedule as well. I mean, how to do it, what to do first, what to do next, what all things we should do, what all things we can leave. What is the year wise schedule that we have to keep in our mind, okay? Sort of that, okay, first 3-4 months we have to do this, next 3-4 months we have to do that. So how do we prepare and where from we do it? So these are the common questions that every student have in their mind, and that's exactly what we are going to discuss today. That is about the quant section of CAT 2022. Of course, I don't need to tell you about the section first of all, that how many questions are there from this section in your exam. All of you would be quite aware of it, that approximately 1/3 of the paper is from quantitative aptitude every year. So approximately 1/3 from each of them. But nowadays LRDI has slightly reduced. As you can see, last year there were 20 questions out of a total of 66, and last to last year there were 24 questions out of a total of 76 questions. So quant has been more or less around 33% only, sometimes more than that as well. So it is an important topic. So therefore, of course, we all have this question: कैसे शुरू करना है, क्या करना है? So you can ask me questions around quant, but the session would be primarily around that how to start preparing for it. How do we move forward? What all things are to be done? So उसके बारे में हम लोग आज बात करने वाले हैं, ठीक है? So, hi Prerna, hello, hi Rupesh Kumar. CAT 2022 is same as 2021. Rupesh, we can't say that right now because, of course, that depends upon the COVID situation. So, if everything is fine, possibly they might go back to CAT 2019 structure as well, where we had a 3-hour paper, right? And each section was of 1 hour. And if there are any problems, so still it can be a 2-hour paper, the way it has been in 2020 and 2021. So we are not very sure of that, but of course things would be out somewhere around August when the CAT notification would be out. At that time we would get to know about it. Okay, so hi Prachi Agrawal, you wrote something but somehow you deleted, and others. A very good evening to all of you again. So let us start with our session now. शुरू करते हैं without any further delay. So here is the first thing that I want all of you to start with. आप कहते हैं कि मुझे क्वांट की प्रिपरेशन करनी है, तो क्या करूं, कैसे स्टार्ट करूं, किन चीजों से मुझे शुरू करना चाहिए? The first thing that I feel that you should start with is this only, which is there on your screen. Know the exam first, know yourself first, and after that only we can move forward with it. Okay? What does that mean, that knowing yourself? I have seen this in the past as well, that whenever I talk to the students and whenever I ask them that have you solved any actual paper of CAT before you decided to prepare for CAT, right? So ये मैं पूछता हूँ स्टूडेंट से, then most of the times I get the answer, no, we have never solved a paper. तो हम लोगों ने अभी तक कोई क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं करके देखा. So I ask them, okay, what idea do you have about CAT? So normally the answer is that we have heard of it from our friends, from our colleagues, or from our seniors, or from our siblings, cousins. किसी ना कहीं से हमने सुना हुआ है. But we have not appeared ourselves for any of these exams. And appear mein, I don't mean that, okay, you have to appear in the actual exam, but at least at home, you can try these papers by yourself to get an idea about the exam first and find out that what is the gap that you have to cover. I mean, where are you? Where do you have to go? So these are the things that you have to, take care of. Shishupal, I'll be talking about that in today's class only. I think I'll be answering your question. Okay. So if you still have any question at the end, you may ask that. But the question that you are asking, I'll be discussing about it. Okay. So the first thing is from CAT 2017 to CAT 2021, 13 actual papers of CAT are available. If you don't have them, you can just go to internet and find it out. Just write their actual CAT papers and you will find many websites which will be offering you these actual papers. Before CAT 2017, CAT did not used to give you actual papers, right? So they used to give you actual papers till 2008, but in 2009 it became online. So after that, for 2009 to 16, they never released the paper officially. So first time they released in 2017 after 2008, and after that every year they have released the paper. So we have total 13 actual papers that are there in the last few years from 17 to 2021. So anyone who have started to prepare for CAT 2022, I would say your first step should be to appear for any of these papers by yourself at home, right? So don't take a limit of 2 hours that you can do that. I mean, you just take a section, for example, pick up CAT 2021 slot 1 and pick up the QA section of that, which will be having 22 questions. So try to solve these questions by yourself. This is what you can start with. ठीक है कि चलो ठीक है, एक बार कोशिश करते हैं इन क्वेश्चंस को करने की. आफ्टर डूइंग दोज क्वेश्चंस, राइट, then you will get an idea about a few things, in which the important thing is the flavor of the exam. What kind of questions are they asking you? I mean, currently you just know that you would be asked about mathematics questions, but you don't know कि mathematics questions का मतलब क्या है. I mean, the questions would be of what level? Would it be of the level, people say that this is up to 10th, but would there be questions like that of 8th, 9th, 10th? And if there are questions up to 10th only, why even the IITians prepare for it? I mean, there has to be some difference. And yes, there is a difference. It has got a different flavor, and therefore CAT calls it quantitative aptitude. They don't call it mathematics. Why they don't call it mathematics? Simple reason is it is slightly different from that. It's more of logic based now. It's not that formula based thing that unless you know the formula, you can't answer the question. If you remember it correctly, in our school time, whatever we studied in our class of mathematics, we always had one thing in our mind कि जो पढ़ाया जा रहा है उस पे क्वेश्चन पूछे जाएंगे, and the kind of questions would also be like these. If he just makes a question slightly difficult, we just come out and say paper तो out of syllabus था. So if I have been taught time, speed and distance, he asked me a question in which he just gives some information which was not in my book. I mean, those kind of questions were not there. So you used to say कि नहीं ये तो difficult है या फिर ये out of syllabus है. In CAT you can't say that. You have to understand the concept, then you have to apply it in the question, and the questions would be logically framed such that the basics used, the concepts used are those only which you have studied up to 10th, but the questions would be slightly difficult because of the logic involved in it. So unless you understand that flavor of the questions, you cannot start your preparation. You can't just one day come to me and say, sir, एक काम करो, हमें ये बता दो 5 मिनट में क्वांट कैसे प्रिपेयर करना है. And if I ask you, okay, have you seen questions? No, sir, I have not seen questions. Can you just tell me कि कैसे questions आते हैं? I can't tell you that. It's like you are asking me that how sweet is rasgulla. How can I tell you that unless you do it by yourself, right? So just go there, try these papers by yourself, understand the flavor of these questions, plus you have to identify this part as well, at which position you are right now and where do you have to go. So by solving these papers, you'll get an idea, okay, इन topics पे question आते हैं. These are the topics that I was comfortable with, or I'm still comfortable with. I never liked algebra, so there are these many questions from algebra. I never liked geometry. These are the questions from geometry. Number system is my favorite area, but these are the questions from number system. Or I have no idea about these things, but yes, by looking at the questions, I thought that probably with a little of preparation, I can solve them, right? At least you will get an idea हो कहाँ पे और जाना कहाँ पे है. So unless and until you know yourself first, you know the exam first, you can't move. You can't straight away start preparing for quant and saying कि मैंने तो CAT की preparation शुरू कर दी, पेपर नहीं देखा लेकिन शुरू कर दिया. That can't be. And I hope you can understand that, right? You want to play international cricket and somehow till now The knowledge of cricket that you have is from friends. They just told you that एक बैट होता है, एक बॉल होता है, एक बंदा आता है, बॉल फेंकता है, and you have to hit that. Unless you play that by yourself, how can you understand those things, right? And how much that guy can tell you कि किस स्पीड से बॉल आती है, आपको किस स्पीड से बैट को गिलाना है, और उसके बाद रिफ्लेक्सेस किस तरह से काम करते हैं. All those things you would be able to understand only by appearing for them by yourself, right? So this is the first thing according to me that all of you have to start with. अगर आप QA की सही से प्रिपरेशन करना चाहते हैं, this is the first thing that you start. Okay? Now, moving on. अगर मैं उससे आगे चलूं तो प्रोसेस क्या होना चाहिए मेरे पढ़ने का. ठीक है, we have understood this. So sir, we have crossed the first part. ठीक है. Now you tell me sir, मैंने कैट का एक पेपर देके देखा, 2 पेपर देके I got an idea about the kind of questions that are there. Now I know that how weak I am in mathematics or how strong I am already. So I somehow am getting this, that how many questions I am able to solve, or how many questions probably I can solve in the exam. So I am seeing those things. Now, how do I prepare? अब सवाल ये आता है कि prepare कैसे करना है. So let's start talking about that कि prepare कैसे करना है. So when you start preparing, the first thing, I mean, अगर मैं process के बारे में बात करूं, so what is the process? The process is, first of all, you do the basics, right? Of course, you can understand that कि पहला काम क्या होगा. पहला काम यही तो होगा that पहले मैं बेसिक्स को समझूं. I mean, you can't just as I just took an example of cricket कि ऐसा नहीं कर सकता ना कि मैं सीधा टीवी पे मैचेस देखे 5 और सीधा वहां पहुंच गया मैदान के अंदर और मैंने खेलना शुरू कर दिया. You have to work on your basics first of all, right? So how do you work on those basics? I would be talking about that, but I feel the process is actually having 3 parts in it. The first part is the basics. And I think this first part you should be covering in the first 2-3 months. The second part is the increased level of the questions which are there. I would say that CAT level of questions. Though I am not saying that basic level of questions would not be there in CAT. Rather, I would be showing you the questions which have appeared in CAT and which are complete of basic level, right? So basic level के भी आते हैं, but most of the questions would be slightly higher level from the complete basic that I'm talking about. So your second step should be to increase that level, and then comes your third step where you have to practice these questions a lot, right? That is the third part of it कि आपको फिर उसके बाद बहुत सारी practice करनी है. Now comes the next questions. How to do the basics, where from to do that, what all things are to be taken care of, how to increase the level, उस वक्त किन किन चीजों का ध्यान रखना है, और उसके बाद प्रैक्टिस कैसे करनी है, वहां क्या क्या करना है. These are the things that you might be having in your mind, which I'll be starting with now. Okay. So now the first things when I talk about basics first. Okay. So basics कैसे करने हैं और कहां से करने हैं. We have been telling this to all our students in all our classes that NCERT book. So here NCERT, you can replace the word NCERT with textbooks as well. I mean that's completely up to you कि आप इसको NCERT बोलना चाहते हैं कि टेक्स्ट बुक बोलना चाहते हैं, राइट? सो यू कैन ऑल्सो से कि ये मैं टेक्स्ट बुक के बारे में बात कर रहा हूँ. नाउ व्हाट एग्जैक्टली डू वी मीन बाय टेक्स्ट बुक? सो जो आपके स्कूल टाइम में बुक्स हुआ करती थी, वेदर यू वर इन द CBSE बोर्ड और ICSE बोर्ड, आई डोंट नो विच बोर्ड यू वर इन. सो विच एवर बोर्ड यू वर इन, ICSE था, CBSE था, जैसा भी था, तो सबसे पहले आपको उसकी टेक्स्ट बुक्स उठानी है, राइट? सो टेक्स्ट बुक से देन यू रीड फ्रॉम क्लास 6th टू क्लास 10th, 6 से लेके 10 तक की क्लास का, एंड यू हैव टू रीड कंप्लीटली. आई मीन नाउ यू कांट. अब आपका ये अगला क्वेश्चन होगा, सर व्हेन यू से कि NCERT की बुक्स पढ़नी है 6th क्लास से 10th क्लास तक, तो क्या पढ़ना है उसमें, कैसे पढ़ना है? सो इफ यू ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट ऑन आवर चैनल ओनली, आई टुक अ सेशन I think around in the beginning of this year, last year, where I talked about this only, that how to read the NCERT book. तो when you are doing that NCERT, तो आपको पढ़ना कैसे है, which all chapters are to be read, how do you read those chapters, do I have to do the exercises now? So I have taken a complete session on that, so you can just put it in the search box, how to read NCERT books by Saral Nashier. So you will get that sessions link, and you can go through that session for 35-40 minutes. From that you will get an idea कि वो पढ़ना कैसे है. Though currently I'll just give you an idea कि क्या करना है. So now when you just pick up any of these books, text books अगर आप उठा लेते हैं, तो उसमें कोई भी चैप्टर है, take up that chapter and read all the theoretical part which is there in the beginning of that chapter. So normally in our school time we never did that, है ना. मेरे ख्याल से हमने स्कूल टाइम पे हमारे लिए कोई भी चैप्टर कहां से शुरू होता था, फॉर अस एवरी चैप्टर स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम दैट पॉइंट जहां पे एग्जाम्पल बना था या एक्सरसाइज बना थी. बट नाउ यू हैव टू रीड ऑल द थ्योरेटिकल पार्ट एज वेल. दिस इज समथिंग दैट ऑल ऑफ यू हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ, बिकॉज दैट कंटेन्स द एक्चुअल कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ द चैप्टर. So when we studied percentages, we straight away started with the example one, but we never studied the first part of it. कि थ्योरी में कुछ तो बता रहा होगा, percentages क्या होती है, how is it derived, वो सारी चीजों पे हम लोगों ने ध्यान नहीं दिया. That all would be mentioned over there. And trust me, I have been teaching for last 18 years now, and with all the confidence I can say that, because I have appeared for CAT every year, right, except one of these years. हर साल मैंने पेपर दिया, and I have seen that actually whatever CAT asks you in quant section, at least 90%, 98% of them, the questions, the concepts are actually given in NCERT books. I'm not saying questions, though sometimes even the questions have been directly taken from NCERT books, but 98, 99% of the times the concepts have been from that book only. तो यू कांट जस्ट शो मी अ क्वेश्चन इन कैट एंड यू कैन से कि सर इस क्वेश्चन में आप ये बताओ कौन सा ऐसा कॉन्सेप्ट है जो 10th क्लास तक नहीं आया है और वो यूज हो रहा है. देयर वुड नॉट बी अ सिंगल क्वेश्चन जो 10th की बुक के अंदर ना हो, हार्डली एनी. आई थिंक जैसे पीएनसी वगैरह का कभी कभार एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा हो सकता है, बट अदरवाइज up to 10th जो आपने पढ़ा है, all the questions would be based upon that only. That I'm pretty sure of. So therefore that makes it a very, very important part for us that we have to study NCERT books. Okay, I will be talking about other things as well, but please keep take care of one thing, like the session as well, because what you need, I am telling you, what I need, you have to do that along with watching the session, of course. This is the first thing. Second thing is that you have to start with arithmetic. Reason of starting with arithmetic is very simple, that not only CAT, if you talk about some other sections, other exams as well, CAT kya, ZET kya, IFT, SNAP, whichever exam you talk about, the major area from which the questions are going to be there, that is arithmetic always. ठीक है, मतलब without any exception. Probably this year's ZET was the only exception. Otherwise every year this has been the case, that you always find maximum number of questions would be from arithmetic only. So therefore we always tell to our students that if you have something in your mind कि सर ये questions हैं, which are the areas which I can probably leave, मैं कुछ areas में अगर अच्छा नहीं हो तो मैं कौन कौन से छोड़ सकता हूँ, we always say कि भैया ऐसा है, arithmetic is something you can't leave. But yes, apart from arithmetic, there are some areas in which probably we can take a leverage. In some of the areas we can just do the basics and leave the other parts. That can be done, but not arithmetic. वो नहीं छोड़ोगे आप, उसमें तो उसके बिना तो काम नहीं चलेगा. So start with arithmetic, do it completely initially, right? And after that move on to algebra, which is the second most important area for CAT. And then you can move on to geometry, number system and the other areas according to your choice. जो आपका जिसमें इंटरेस्ट बने, बस वो चैप्टर पढ़िएगा. ऐसा ना हो कि आप करने लगे और आपका इंटरेस्ट ना बन रहा हो. That should not be the scenario. Okay, then make notes of these formulas and methods, because of course these would be used later on as well, and somehow you will always feel, because this again is a very common problem from many of the students, that sir, we have studied the chapter, then we moved on to the second chapter, third chapter, but by that time we are feeling that we have forgotten everything that we did in the first lecture, right? It's a very, very common issue with most of the students. So just make some notes so that just by revising those notes in a single day, you can just recall all the concepts again. तो वैसे तो नॉर्मली भूलता नहीं है इंसान, द मोमेंट यू जस्ट गो थ्रू देम वंस, तो उसके बाद आपको समझ आ जाता है. बट मेकिंग द नोट्स वुड ऑलवेज मेक योर जॉब इजी, बिकॉज द मोमेंट यू गो थ्रू देम इट विल बी इजी फॉर यू. आप आराम से मतलब सारा कुछ ब्रश अप कर पाएंगे. दिस बिकम्स एन इजी थिंग. ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ यू स्टार्ट विद द बेसिक्स. सो फॉर एवरीवन, एवरी स्टूडेंट हु फील्स दैट आई एम नॉट वेरी गुड एट क्वांट, सो हाउ डू आई प्रिपेयर? आई वुड से फर्स्ट फ्यू मंथ्स, दैट मींस February and March, right? These 2 months should be focused upon this. आपको complete NCERT करनी है from class 6 to 10th, and then you after that you just make notes of formulas and methods and everything, and do some basic level questions. ठीक है? Those basic level questions do appear in CAT, as I told you कि actual CAT के मैं आपको कुछ questions दिखाता हूँ. Just have a look at these questions on your screen. If a seller gives a discount of 15% on retail price, she still makes a profit of 2%. Which of the following ensures she makes a profit of 20%? It's a very common question you will find in an NCERT book from the very basic things. The number of girls appearing for an admission test is twice the number of boys. 30% of the girls, 45% of the boys got the admission. What is the percentage who do not get admission? When you study percentages from NCERT, I'm pretty sure you would definitely encounter such a question over there. So these are very common kind of questions. Then these are the questions from actual CAT, same slot of CAT 2017. I just went through one of the papers and I just found out 2 questions. So that means CAT does ask you some basic level questions as well, as you can see on your screen. बहुत ही basic level के questions हैं ये. If you have just studied your NCERT completely, I'm pretty sure you would be able to do these questions by yourself. आप पक्का ही कर पाएंगे, isn't it? और आपको देख के लग रहा होगा that these are pretty easy questions. I mean anyone can just do these questions. में कुछ difficult मुझे लग ही नहीं रहा है कि ये क्यों नहीं करेगा कोई इंसान. These are the first 2 things. When I talk about the basics, this is how you move it. After that, you move on to increase the level, right? You start doing some questions. I mean, after February, March, when you have completed the basics, from April, I would say just increase the level. Now, what does that mean when we say increase the level? Increasing the level means, first of all, those concepts which we have not studied in our school time. Now, I just said कि ऐसा कोई concept होता ही नहीं, और अब मैं ये भी कह रहा हूँ जो मैंने वहां नहीं पढ़े. The point is that when we are studying for CAT, we actually mold our studies according to CAT only. So there, for every question, there was a different way of doing it, because of course we had to do the complete solution in the paper. We used to get marks for steps as well. So even if I knew some shortcut for that question, still I had to do the complete solution. Now those shortcuts would be needed for us in CAT, because CAT would be, of course, not only a test of your concept, it is also a test of your time management. So you have 1 hour 34 questions, or you have 40 minutes and 24 questions, 22 questions. So how do I deal with that, right? So there, of course, I have to use some shortcuts to do the questions. I can't just say कि ठीक है ये वाला question करने का तरीका तो I know there are 5 steps, take a variable and solve it, and I know how to solve it. So knowing that how to solve is not important. That if a question takes 3-4 minutes, whereas it could have been done by some other method in 25-30 seconds, that means I'm doing something wrong. So now CAT specific study, I would say, concepts which were not there, जो नहीं थे, अब मुझे वो भी पढ़ने हैं, अब मुझे उनके बारे में बात करनी है. So in that second stage, after March, that when you land into April, in April you start studying those concepts now which were not there. That means shortcuts for doing the questions. Then comes the kind of questions as well which are tricky to interpret. Many a times this would be the case that concepts तो वही है, but question I'm not able to interpret, because this is again a very common problem with the students. So in the second stage of your studies, where you start from April and you go somewhere around up to June, तो April से June तक मेरे ख्याल से should be doing this, that you start practicing those kind of questions which are basically tricky or somehow lengthy or difficult to interpret. So those kind of questions of the questions that have appeared in previous year exams, getting a hint from those questions कि कैसे पूछते हैं, ये आपको करना है when you increase the level of the questions that you are doing. But here there is one very important point that you have to strictly stick to the required difficulty level, because I have seen many people, many students, I mean, of course, nowadays, because social media is there, so we have a lot of channels where a lot of discussions on CAT would be happening, and we join many of those channels as well. But the problem is, many a times the things which are discussed over there, they are completely useless from CAT's perspective, but they would be discussed in the name of CAT. So people would start discussing so difficult questions which have never appeared in CAT, or those kind of questions which we should not be doing in CAT. If CAT is asking you 24 questions, let's say in QA, and your target is somewhere around 98-99 percentile, that means you just have to do 16-17 questions. You have to leave 6, 7, 8 questions. So why should I be bothering about those questions which are taking a lot of time, or which are which require some different kind of formula or theorem to solve them fast? So you have to understand, therefore only I said in the very first slide कि पहले आप खुद से पेपर कीजिए, take an idea what is the flavor of the paper, so that you get to know when people are discussing these questions, तो आप उनको कह पाए भैया इस तरह के तो क्वेश्चन ही नहीं आते, why are you discussing this? So unless those are those kind of questions that you want to do in the exam, so please just stay away from those discussions because they can kill your interest in mathematics. Okay? So again I request all of you to stay away from those. Again I request you to like the session as well, that's important. So I have a question from Avantika, sir, which subject textbooks we have to study? Avantika, as I just said that for LRDI you don't have any textbooks, right? The kind of verbal ability we have been asked, उस पे भी कोई textbooks नहीं है, it's purely reading based. तो अगर आप बात कर रहे हैं क्वांट की, तो आपको उसके लिए textbooks पढ़नी है from class 6 to 10th. You can take NCERT, you can take RD Sharma as well, but I think RD Sharma would go slightly above the kind of questions that are asked in CAT. मेरा purpose है सिर्फ concepts को समझने का. RD Sharma में कई बार मैंने देखे उस तरह के questions भी होते थे जो कई बार ऐसे हो गए जिसमें आपको जो IIT JEE के पेपर के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाते थे, सो दोज आर नॉट नीडेड ओवर हियर. या कई बार उस तरह के क्वेश्चन जो ओलंपियाड्स में आते थे, सो दोज वुड नॉट बी नीडेड. सो आई वुड सजेस्ट कि NCERT की नॉर्मल बुक्स कीजिए टू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट, ग्रास्प द कॉन्सेप्ट. ओके, देन कम्स द थर्ड पार्ट ऑफ प्रैक्टिस. सो हाउ डू आई प्रैक्टिस? प्रैक्टिस आपको पहली बात तो ये दैट यू हैव टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ सेक्शनल टेस्ट्स ऑन एवरी टॉपिक. सो आई हैव डन अरिथमेटिक. Basics I have done in the 1st February and March. After that April, May, June में मैंने increase level भी किया उसका. And now you start doing sectional tests on those after June. That means July से आगे. ठीक है? Sectional tests आपको जरूर करने हैं so that you get to know which are the topics where you are lacking. So you might be lacking in percentages, so that means read percentages more. You might be lacking in algebra, so read algebra more. You might be lacking in triangles, so read triangles more. These sectional tests are extremely important from that perspective. They give you the individual subject strength. Then the second thing, which is the most important part of your complete preparation process, is the mock test. और उससे भी ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट होता है उसका एनालिसिस. जस्ट राइटिंग द मॉक टेस्ट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प यू. यू हैव टू एनालाइज इट वेरी वेल. दिस इज द सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू. दिस इज एट द प्रैक्टिस स्टेज एंड प्रीवियस ईयर पेपर्स, right? So we have I just counted a few days back that the total number of questions in all previous year papers is approximately 9,000 plus. इतने सारे क्वेश्चंस, ऑफ कोर्स नॉट ओनली फॉर क्यूए, दिस इज फॉर LRDI प्लस क्यूए प्लस सारा मिला के है, बट 9,000 से ज्यादा क्वेश्चंस हमारे पास टोटल हैं. इसमें क्यूए के भी आई थिंक एटलीस्ट 2500 क्वेश्चंस तो जरूर ही होंगे, उससे ज्यादा ही होंगे. सो इतने सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं फ्रॉम दीज प्रीवियस ईयर पेपर्स. They are important in two ways. First of all, you get a good database, and second, these are the most authentic questions because they have appeared in the examinations. No one can tell you कि यार ये क्वेश्चन मत करिए तो कभी एग्जाम में आएगा नहीं. भैया ये तो आ चुका है. These are those kind of questions. Here I don't have to think whether this question is relevant or not. So just do these previous year papers along with the mock test and sectional test. So I again repeat, your whole structure should be in February and March, you do the basics from any textbook. Take care of those things that we discussed. Then in the next 2-3 months, April, May, June, you increase the level. You start discussing those kind of questions which require some shortcut concepts which we have just studied, ठीक है, recently, or those kind of questions which are long or difficult to interpret, मतलब जिनको आप moderate category में रखोगे CAT के level से. And third stage would be where you practice these questions through sectional tests, mock tests, previous year papers. And if you do that, I think you would be quite good at quantitative aptitude. But first of all, appear for one of the papers, get an idea about the exam, get an idea about yourself. Only then make the strategy according to that कि मेरे को क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना है. So that is all from my side, guys. So if you have any questions, you may ask right now. आपको कुछ भी अगर पूछना है तो. सौरभ पूछ रहे हैं सर क्वेश्चंस कहाँ से करें. सौरभ, फॉर्चुनेटली आई जस्ट आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन कि क्वेश्चंस करने के लिए पुराने ईयर्स के पेपर्स हैं आपके पास. दैट्स अ गुड सोर्स. यू कैन गो थ्रू द सेक्शनल टेस्ट वेयर एवर यू आर स्टडिंग. ठीक है, यू कैन जस्ट टेक सेक्शनल टेस्ट ओवर देयर. वहां पे कंटेंट होगा आपके पास, उसमें सेक्शनल टेस्ट होंगे. एंड यू वुड बी गेटिंग दिस मॉक्स एज वेल एज पर द टाइमिंग. सभी जगह पे मॉक्स तो मिलते हैं, वो हो ही जाएगा. Isha also has a question, sir. I have the Arun Sharma book for CAT's level is quite high, so should I actually use it? Isha, as I said, you need not do the high level questions straight away. आप शुरुआत हमेशा बेसिक लेवल से क्वेश्चन से कीजिए, ठीक है. And just know about yourself दैट वेयर आर यू राइट नाउ, ठीक है, सो व्हाट इज योर स्टैंडिंग। तो अगर आपको लगता है कि ठीक है मैं यहां तो पहुंच चुकी हूं और अब मुझे डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस करने की जरूरत है, ओनली देन डू इट समहाउ। आई मीन द वे दैट वी हैव अडॉप्टेड ऑफ प्रिपेयरिंग इज, जो मुझे थोड़ा सा गलत लगता है वो ये, वी टेक ए बुक, लेट्स से यू हैव टेकन अ स्पेसिफिक बुक, सो यू वुड जस्ट पिक अप ए चैप्टर, आप उसके क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, उसमें एक और फिर डिफिकल्टी लेवल बढ़ेगा और बढ़ेगा, और जब आपसे क्वेश्चंस नहीं होंगे यू स्टार्ट पैनिकिंग कि मुझसे तो क्वेश्चन नहीं हो रहे, और अगर ये मुझसे नहीं हो रहे यही वाले कैट में आ गए तो मैं क्या करूंगी। आई थिंक दैट्स अ रॉन्ग अप्रोच। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल रीड ऑल दी चैप्टर्स एंड डू लेवल 1 क्वेश्चंस ऑफ ऑल ऑफ देम। सो पहले बेस बना लो कि ठीक है मेरा बेस अच्छा हो गया है। After making that base, then move on to the next difficulty level and then see कि कहाँ मैं मतलब लैग कर रहा हूँ उस केस में। ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि पहले 3 टॉपिक पढ़े, उनके बिल्कुल डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस करने की भी कोशिश करी, वो नहीं हुए, वी लॉस्ट इंटरेस्ट इन मैथमेटिक्स एंड वी स्टॉप डूइंग इट, और वी गॉट अफ्रेड ऑफ इट कि ये तो मुझसे होगा ही नहीं। सो बेसिक तो सब लोग कर सकते हैं, किसी को दिक्कत नहीं आती है। आफ्टर दैट टिल व्हाट लेवल यू कैन गो, दैट वुड बी कंप्लीटली डिपेंडेंट अपॉन योर इंटरेस्ट एंड योर I mean preparation that you have had till now regarding quantitative aptitude. Okay. As I just answered this Mahakal, जो आपने पूछ रहे हैं, तो I think you would have got your answer. Julie, no one knows right now about this. Very soon the notification should be out. तो तभी पता लग पाएगा कब होने वाला है ना? Okay, for people who are preparing for the second stage of CAT 2021, we are running a batch for that. Plus, for preparing CAT 2022, we also have a batch 6 now. This is a batch 5, but batch 6 is also started. And as I said, please like the session if you actually had some benefit from this session, and subscribe to BYJU'S Exam Prep channel because we keep bringing such sessions to you in future as well. And comment what kind of sessions do you want and share it with more and more people, guys, that anyone who wants to join us, who want to see these sessions and get a benefit from these, they can come. And these are all the media channels where we are present, so you can just join us anywhere. So that's all from my side, guys. Thank you very much and a good night to all of you. I see you soon in the next channel. Till then, bye bye.